Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 6:06. It's O'Connor and Company here as we continue to march through a very busy lineup for CPAC 2024 Day 2. I don't know why I'm talking like that, Patrice.
I don't know either, Larry.
You know what? It's the coffee kicking in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
At an hour into the show, it's just now kicking in?
Are we already an hour in?
Yeah.
I have no idea what I just said for the last 60 minutes.
Let's focus, Larry.
Was it good?
It was really good.
Okay, good. Thanks. Coming up at 6:35, Andrew Langer, our friend Andrew Langer, has something to talk about here. At 7:05, Chairman Mark Green of the Homeland Security Committee. The border's kind of a thing.
Kind of.
Talk to Congressman Green about that. 7:35, Matt Whitaker, who should play a big part in the Justice Department should Donald Trump win the White House. 8:05, Monica Crowley, you'll remember from the Treasury Department in the last Trump. She's 8:15, though, isn't she? Not 8:05. Yeah, 8:15 is Monica. That's going to make a difference to someone out there right now who's listening.
Now I'm going to update my tweet.
They will have tuned in at 8:05, like, where the hell is Monica Crowley?
They can stick around a little longer, right?
8:35 is Rick Grinnell. I'm Larry O'Connor. That's Patrice on.
And it's a happy Friday from CPAC.
Happy
live.
Friday. Live.
I
mean, we're always live. We're not
Chris,
podcasters.
This is how we are at 6 a.m.
Chris Palombi is here. You remember Chris from running in Maryland's 5th Congressional District last time around. He came up short, as many Maryland Republicans do these days, sadly.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
We gained some more ground, though, so we did flip 13 precincts, which is a good thing.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And so one thing that I think helped a lot was door knocking, and I know.
We ran it. He was door knocking on my street. I'm like,
that's hilarious.
that's Chris. I know you. I ran down the street, gave him a hug. We just were coming from church that day.
And also, I mean, you're running as a Republican in Maryland. It's already an uphill fight. And then you're running against
Steny Hoyer.
Steny
the
Hoyer.
big money maker for the Democrat Party in the House of Representatives.
Are you kidding me? I mean, they build a firewall around him. And that's why I'm here to entice you to please just sort of move down the block a few streets. You can live in my basement if you have to. But you're a former Capitol Police officer.
Yes.
You're a good Republican in Maryland. You got Michigan roots.
Go Green.
I mean, let's not. Why? Why do you want to pick a fight with me?
I was waiting to go blue from you later on.
Yeah.
It's bound to happen.
And you made one unfortunate decision with your college life in Michigan and went to Michigan State instead. But that's okay. We'll set it aside. But as a former Capitol Police officer, this guy who is looking like he's going to have the Democrat. Now, this is Sarbanes. Sarbanes is stepping down. So it's an open seat. It's not as Democrat as people think it is, actually.
It's very purple.
Naval Academy is there. There's a lot. I know my neighbors are Republicans, okay? So there's and this guy is one of the big liars. I'm sorry, I'll just call him. He's a liar about what he says his story was on January 6th. He's been able to dine out on this thing. There is video evidence showing that his story is completely false.
Yes.
You, as a former Capitol Police officer, can step up there and say, "Excuse me, sir, don't be throwing your badge and uniform in my face. I'll tell you what it's really all about." And this would be a great race. And you could win it, Chris Palombi. Let's go.
Thank you.
When's the deadline? Oh, we already passed the deadline.
Passed the deadline.
Writing candidate.
Yeah. There you go. That could be a push. But it is very unfortunate. And even shortly afterwards with January 6th, when seeing how everything unfolded and paying attention and knowing how the optics of security works, because I've worked those steps. I worked when we'd had anti-war protests during the Bush years and the Obama years when we had protests, and seeing how they were strategically set up that day, I knew from watching the video that they were set up to fail. Who gave the orders? Who told them to not go in SWAT gear, to not enable to have those officers on the West Front as they were supposed to? And they never did. So that was a big red flag for me. And after talking to many police officers, my current and former, well, not current, but former coworkers, some of them who are still there, some who aren't, and having discussions with them. And even when Harry Dunn. I tried not to mention his name. I'm sorry.
That's all right. No, it's right.
But when he spoke on the J6 committee about his experiences, the amount of phone calls and text messages that I received from current Capitol Police officers who said he is lying through his teeth. There's no way you can get from point A to point B in the manner that he said you did. He wasn't here when that happened. This didn't happen. And I'm still getting it too, and especially yesterday when you see how much money he raised in his first 3 weeks since announcing over $2 million.
It's insane. He's just did all that Democrat money that's coming in.
And it's very easy to assume that he is being fully protected by Pelosi and her people for doing the bidding on their behalf. for the storytelling that he had from that day.
Well, I expect you to be a good proxy
Yeah.
against him at the very least if you can't run in the district.
Let's stay with Maryland races.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're watching the governor's race. I wish Larry Hogan had jumped in much sooner than he did, but he's in there now. Do we see Angela Alsobrooks dropping out and it just being Hogan versus David Trone? And then also any other races that you're seeing across the state that we should be excited about?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting you bring up the dynamic with Angela Alsobrooks running, because right now you take a look at her campaign. She's completely shifted since Governor Hogan's gotten involved, and she's constantly having this false push that Governor Hogan's going to be against abortion. He's going to take away abortion rights. And all, so she is coming hard against Governor Hogan in that aspect. So that's why I wonder if maybe she's going to try to keep her foot in the game as long as possible, but knowing that their primary is going to be very contested with David Trone, who has Mr. Money Pockets from his personal business that he has too. And that's going to be a very, very heated race. You know what? Let them battle each other. Let them spend their money to win their primary, and hopefully they'll make it a lot easier for Governor Hogan when it comes to the general election.
Hogan cleared the field, and so he's not facing really much opposition.
And unfortunately, John Teicher dropped out.
He's a good man.
Guy,
We've had him on the show a couple of times, but he endorsed Hogan, and the latest poll shows Hogan beating Trone. But listen, Larry Hogan has a lot of things. He's not dumb. And he was not going to get you wish he had come in early. He was waiting to make sure that the polls showed that he not only had a chance of winning, but he had a likelihood of winning. And I think that's what told him to jump in when he did. And, of course, the first poll shows him beating Trone by like 15 points, I think, so far. Obviously, that'll solidify once they get their nominee, and it's going to be Trone, I'm assuming. But it's going to be an interesting race for sure. And guess who's going to be brought in to submarine Hogan and damage Hogan and throw it? Wes Moore. Wes Moore, who Hogan basically endorsed, who Hogan had supported in the general election, and I hope Mr. Hogan learns a lesson, although he never does, that no good turn goes unpunished with a Democrat. Wes Moore will be the person who will be employed to attack Larry Hogan, and it's frustrating, but what are you going to do?
Very frustrating. But locally, I've been trying to help out with local candidates. I mean, we have a lot of great key school board races that are coming up. We have judicial races that are coming up that we need to make sure that we're getting people in. And from what we saw in the 2022 election, with the new laws in Maryland, how mail-in ballots and ballot harvesting is essentially legal now in the state of Maryland, we got blown away in Anne Arundel County when it came to numbers-wise with those numbers. So
there were multiple races in Anne Arundel County that Republicans, again, same old story, Republicans were winning on election night, days into election night. County supervisor in Anne Arundel County is a perfect example of it. And then keep counting the mail-in ballots, and look what happens a week later.
Well, they shifted about 25,000 votes in their favor just with their push with, hey, vote by mail, vote by mail, vote by mail. And the Democrats' return rate was 89%.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
And I guarantee, take a look at the numbers.
Does the state party get that, though, Chris? Do they know that they got to get in that game?
I've been sounding the alarm bells as well. Many
That's
other
not a yes.
It should be
able to just say, of course they do. Of course they do. They don't want to lose.
Yeah, and it should. And that's one thing I've been doing on my behalf is trying to work with the central committees locally to say, hey, we got to work. Here's a strategy in place. We need to get precinct leaders. We need to really work the data.
Well, hold that thought. We got more time with you. Chris Palombi is with us. And this is a big part of CPAC is I know everybody sees what goes on the main stage and what's on television and we talk about that, so we're part of the problem. But there's a whole lot of networking and connection, education, strategizing, grassroots support that doesn't get as much attention. And I think that's part of what you're doing here, right?
Yes.
And exposing your young son to some good conservative politics. I want to talk about that, too, in a moment. So there's more with Chris Palombi here. It's nice to see some Maryland. I believe that we are the entire Maryland Republican caucus here, the three of us. It's 6:15. Take that, Virginia. We're not talking about Virginia.
Because next door
Maryland
Virginians.
counts.
Next door are Virginians.
Yeah, I know. And they're like, oh, we have a Republican governor now.
Colonnades March 7th for the all-new Stake of the Union at Bourbon Boulevard in Chantilly. Details at WMAL.com/stake.
And we continue here at CPAC 2024 with Chris Palombi. And I spent way too much time talking about who's going to be my congressman, my personal.
Well, that's okay. We hit other Maryland races,
yes,
which is important.
True. And we didn't touch Maryland 6, though, which is closest to home here. And once again, we have quite a few big names on the Republican side who are fighting it out. Do you think they have a chance?
Well, especially taking a look at the numbers. And again, it's another open race, too.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great opportunity for us to do it. But I know we have a lot of good Republicans that are running in that race. Mary LaRocca, good friend, Dan Cox. We have Neil Parrott. We have a lot of people that have jumped in that race, and it's a deep field. So hopefully it's one of those that me personally with my race when I ran in 2020 and 2022, I wanted to make sure, hey, there's bigger fish to fry instead of beating each other up. We got to oust and get this seat and turn it red. We had to unseat Steny Hoyer in my case. And I hope that is the purpose with the Republican candidates that I feel that, hey, there's an end game that we need, and it's a great opportunity in Maryland 6. I think it's a D+2.
Yeah, it's very tight.
And it's very tight.
And it's a very good point you're making, though, in terms of the Republican field, Patrice, in that they're all really solid candidates, and they all are pretty much the same on the position. So for a Republican voter in Maryland 6, it's got to be, okay, who can win this?
That's right.
Who actually has the chance to raise the money to win, because it's going to cost a lot of money. It always does. And who can actually bring it home. So.
Well, from an issues perspective, I think one of the big understories here at CPAC is going to be women's sports, and it's a national issue. I think everyone cares about it, or I'm sure Riley Gaines is probably somewhere floating around here, my colleague at IWF. But you have a personal story. I mean, you have a connection. You are more than just a Republican strategist. You are more than just a candidate. You are also a dad who's involved in sports.
And a coach.
Women's sports, and a coach. Talk to us about what you do when you're not running and helping Republicans win and flip Maryland red.
Yeah, I wear many hats, so I'm switching on the coach's hat right now. But, I've been an ice hockey coach for 16 years now.
Wow.
Where I've coached the guys.
Yeah.
Shifted transition, and we started the first all-girls hockey team in Southern Maryland at St. Mary's Riken High School.
Okay.
We started with 22 girls the first season. 2 of them played. The rest of them never skated before. But built them up. They loved it. Taught them how to skate.
Yeah.
First thing we did was like, hey, we're going to fall. Because it got them to see that we're going to get right back up.
It's like learning how to walk.
Going. But they loved the sport, and it grew, and it became because of the opportunity of having a girls' team.
Yeah.
You didn't have the intimidation of playing with the guys.
Yes.
Because it is much more physical. And then when I switched back, I'm coaching the guys now again this year, and that was a big talk. A lot of the girls I coach and the guys like, hey, can we play against each other? We want to play against each other. Well, we did last year.
Yeah.
Within the first 10 minutes. Now, this is with 2 teams that had about the same balance of players that had the same amount of years being new to the sport. And within 5 minutes, the guys were winning 10-0.
Wow.
I played with the girls and scored a couple of goals for them, too, to help get the girls going. But nevertheless, there is that huge disparity. And what's going on right now with our country to allow biological boys to play in girls' sports is wrong. And I've seen it firsthand of what that can do to take away opportunities from these young girls, to have a safe haven for them to play a sport, develop a passion, have opportunities later on in life. Well, and it's not just sports; it's confidence. It has so many other positive aspects in their lives that they can build from. And what did we see after COVID? With the school lockdowns, unfortunately, we see with our youth that depression, anxiety, unfortunate suicide levels have skyrocketed from COVID. So sports and having that outlet to give them an opportunity to play and compete and try something new, and see that they're much more boundless than they think that they are. It's a great opportunity. So, right now in the State House, and our friend Kathy Scaleza has a bill, H.R. 47, Fairness in Girls Sports Act, that she's trying to push through.
Yeah, she's been on to talk about it a couple of times. I was just going to say, what you just said about how important women's sports are and making sure that girls have these opportunities and stuff. You say that on the floor of the House of Delegates in Annapolis, they'll call you a bigot. They may shut off your mic because of hate speech. No, seriously. And that's what Shalek is up against right now.
And it's troubling, too, because you're taking a look at women's rights and women's empowerment to empower these young. And I see it firsthand with the girls that I've coached. Many of them have started playing college hockey, and they only played for a couple of years. And so you see in these opportunities that are presented to them, and you don't want to have that taken away. And just one quick one, too. There's a bill that passed in the House in this recent session in April of 2023. It's been sitting in the Senate. The Senate, just like many things they pass in the House, it's not even passing in the Senate. It's Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act, which basically solidifies Title IX for women's sports. And every Democrat voted against it, including our buddy Steny Hoyer, saying buddy loosely there.
Of course.
But it's one of those things that's discouraging, because you take a look at polling, you take a look at the general consensus with the public. There's a large support for making sure that we're protecting women's sports across the board. So are those Democrats really supporting the people that they're supposed to represent when there's such a strong outcry and support for protecting girls' sports and women's sports?
Yeah. Well, I do think it's one of those crossover issues that is when you can stand on somebody's doorstep and say, listen, I know that you voted Democrat. I get it, but this is what they're doing right now. Do you have any daughters? Do you think this makes sense? And boy, with hockey, I mean, can you imagine if your most mediocre boys hockey player, maybe he didn't even make the team or something, decides that they're suddenly, it's one thing for swimming and running, and we saw what
when
happened
they're different
with
lanes.
right, and we
But
saw
when
what
it's-
happened on that basketball court.
Yes,
with
recently.
the boy who played basketball. But hockey is a whole other level.
It's so high contact.
in terms of danger, and someone is going to get so severely injured, if not literally killed. You could get an injury when you've got that kind of disparity. It's God forbid that happen, but I think it will. Chris Palombi, thanks for waking up, and thanks for bringing your son. You're
Thanks,
a
Chris.
seventh grader.
Seventh grader, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's definitely he had his civics lesson early with paying attention to my campaign a little bit too.
Yeah.
But he's very much into geography, and he's starting to get into geopolitics. So yesterday, I do have to say, when he sat in and listened to Gordon Chang with his presentation with Katie McFarland, and then he heard yours talking with Rick Grinnell, driving home, he's like, Dad, I think I want to be a diplomat. I want geopolitics. Like, I really enjoyed hearing that. That's really cool. Like, just understanding how different countries.
Yeah, but he's your son, so he's going CIA probably. Just some station chief in Uzbekistan or something, but that's okay too. All right, thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks,
It's
Chris.
6:23.